I have several questions about the Half-Life series, and since we're all still waiting for a third game, I thought it'd be fun to ask the questions directed at you, the person watching this video. I have roughly 20 questions about the game. I have some theories I came up with to answer some of these questions, and I'd love for you to comment your guesses as to what you think some of the answers are, and any questions you want answered as well. Any theories I reference will be linked below in order of appearance. I'll start by listing off all my questions at once, and then circle back to the ones I actually have answers for. 1. Why does the Nilanth have surgical scars on its third arm and torso? 2. Why does the G-Man say we can keep the suit at the end of Half-Life 1 if we don't actually? Did he give it to Dr. Kleiner? 3. Does anyone know Gordon was in stasis? 4. Is the G-Man really that powerful? 5. Is the theory that the G-Man's employers are Valve true? 6. What is the G-Man? 7. Does Gordon really not wear a helmet when in Zen? 8. Was there only ever one Nilanth, and was the Nilanth enslaved so the Combine could force it to teleport them? 9. The G-Man says Zen is now in control of his employers. What are they doing with it? 10. Did the Nilanth speak to the other scientists who came to Zen? Did it read their minds? 11. What did the Nilanth mean when it said, "You can never know the truth"? What about, "He will deceive you"? 12. Does the Combine have technology that tells them when someone enters a building without permission? 13. What does Adrian Shepard have to do with all this? 14. Do y'all think Gordon is like racist towards Vortigaunts? 15. Can headcrabs control other aliens? 16. Do you think the tram ride at the end of Half-Life 1 is the same tram Gordon rides at the start? 17. How many towns are left on Earth? 18. Are there any other HEV suits? 19. Who is the previous hire that the G-Man mentions at the end of Half-Life Alyx? 20. Was North America really wiped off the map? 21. Are Gordon and Alex and Adrian and everyone chosen because they have the ability to be controlled by a player? Okay, so some of these questions can be killed off with an easy Valve added them because they looked cool and they wanted to try something new. However, just because they didn't have a good reason back then, doesn't mean that they don't have a better one now. 1 and 8. You may have seen the Leadhead video suggesting that the Nilanth has a third arm so it can control the Vortigaunts. I do like this theory, however, it was based off the first game alone. I'm going to expand upon that. I think that the Nilanth came from a race of rare creatures who slowly marched towards extinction. The Combine stumbles upon them and captures them. They then do what the Combine does best and begin mutilating them into new creatures who serve them. Several of the Nilanths die during these procedures. My guess is it takes immense power for the Nilanth to teleport just itself, and so they try and make it so the Nilanths can access the Vortessence, which we know is accessed by the brain somehow from Gary. By the time they have finished mutilating the Nilanth, it is no longer recognizable to its origin species, and all but one have died undergoing these procedures. That's why it says it is the last, and that's why it can teleport, and that's why green lightning shoots out of it as it dies. Something to note is that both the Nilanth and the Combine Overwatch soldiers receive chest surgeries. My guess is this is to give them enhanced lungs, perhaps a detonation device if they ever defect, and a new heart. Something interesting is that the Combine has raided several universes, and it's not impossible that Valve could add one more to this Portal Half-Life timeline. Perhaps there was a Valve game with a certain unethical doctor, a certain medic perhaps, one who created beefed up hearts. Okay, no, that's not an actual connection I'm making here, I just thought it was interesting. Anyway, if they did add the detonation device, it's likely that the Nilanth knew it was too important for them to kill, so it called their bluff and escaped. This explains why it has the chest surgery scars, and maybe the third arm is what it needs to funnel the teleportation outwards to teleport beings besides itself. I would also recommend you read this Reddit comment on how the G-Man's employer's main motives might be stopping the Combine from ever getting teleportation technology. 2 and 3. I think these two are best answered in tandem. I think after Gordon was sent to stasis, Kleiner was given the suit and Barney was given the crowbar, and the G-Men exchanged words, probably telling them that we had been hired and that we'd be back eventually. This would help explain what Kleiner meant when he said, "I expected more warning." Obviously, he wasn't just expecting a phone call from Gordon or anything, so he was probably referring to someone who knew the fate of Gordon. Something I want to point out is that Wall Spreen also kind of knew Gordon was in stasis and hired by the G-Man, at least to some extent. 4. Okay, so a bit of a spoiler ahead. In response to Alex asking for the Combine to be taken off Earth, the G-Man says,
Ah, that would be a considerably large nudge. Too large, given the interests of my employers.
He doesn't outright say that's too much to ask, just that his employers won't allow it. It could be he's lying about this being within the realm of his power, but I think he's being honest here. We also know he can slow time, teleport people, and to some extent see the future. We can also assume that he knew he was going to end up trapped in the vault, and he probably saw that Alex would be useful to save him. However, there is also this G-Man quote to consider.
I acted in the face of objections that she was a mere child and of no practical use to anyone. I have learned to ignore such naysayers when quelling them was out of the question.
It's odd to have this conflict here where the G-Man can see the future, but the people telling him what to do can't. Is it that they can all see parts of the future and the G-Man's just the best at it? What's going on here, and what's with these artificial restrictions? Why do his employers care where the Combine is and isn't? And is it possible that the G-Man has powers that not even his employers are aware of? 5. This has been a semi-popular theory. I would recommend reading this Reddit post for more details, but the idea is this. The G-Man's employers are the real-life Valve employees, and so when he does these actions, it's the whims of Valve themselves in the game, not just Valve as an actual game company, right? Or maybe it's something like the player, the consumer, you are playing as Gordon, and Valve plays as the G-Man. I personally think that the G-Man's employers are actual characters in the lore though. However, I also want to draw attention to this theory posed in a comment under this post about how the G-Man doesn't always have the same employers every time, and that they might be working for the highest bidder, almost like a private military company. I'm not sure if this really makes sense to me, but there is a lot of backing to it. 7. A great video by Purple Colonel basically comes to the conclusion that Gordon does not wear a helmet, and that he probably wouldn't need one in order to survive Zen or the toxic chemical waste. I do, however, think that there is some wiggle room. I think it's important to point out that while in-universe these companies don't always follow the proper procedures to reduce risk, they probably have some sort of health and safety guidelines. I think it makes the most sense for Gordon's helmet to pop out like a convertible car top, and that he was at least wearing a helmet when he entered the chamber to place the rock in the anti-mass spectrometer. Like, you don't mess around with OSHA regulations, and if he has to wear a full-body hazard suit, they probably want his head covered, especially since these beams are supposedly hot plasma. However, it's pretty likely that he's just really out here wearing nothing but some glasses as his head protection. 12. I ask this because I recently watched a video called Patient Zero, and I know it's not canon or anything, but I was wondering if it's partially based off this moment in Half-Life 2, where Gordon enters the apartment complex, followed by this voice playing,
Attention, residents. Miscount detected in your block. Cooperation with your civil protection team permits full ration reward.
and several Metro cops rushing the building. I was wondering if maybe they could count heat signatures or maybe track people. It'd be cool if they could do the former, and that's how they were tracking down rebels or something. 13. All I could really add to this is that there was a canceled game involving Ravenholm and Father Gregory, so we at least know that Valve was planning on doing something with him. Maybe he'll be brought back in Half-Life X, or maybe he'll be the protagonist of a new VR game. 14. This one is more of a joke. I'm sure you've seen this animation. I remember when I first played Half-Life 2, I felt so racist when I saw my first Vortigaunt. My instinct was to unload my gun as fast as possible. I do like to think that when Gordon saw that the Vortigaunts avoided attacking him and Zen, he realized they weren't evil or anything, and that they were probably being controlled. 16. My guess is yes. I haven't been able to find anything online confirming this, however, but it could just be that I'm using bad search terms. It does have the same number of seats, and it does have the same layout, and it would be a cool detail. However, this could just be Valve reusing the same asset to save space. 19. This refers to the ending line of Half-Life Alyx, where the G-Man says,
A previous hire has been unable or unwilling to perform the tasks laid before him.
I do not have a guess to who it is. Maybe it's Colonel Shepard, or maybe it's someone who's yet to be introduced. Either way, it's odd, and I wanted to add a bit more context. 20. I have seen people theorize that North America was either completely overrun with alien fauna, or that the Combine blew it to bits during the 7-hour war. This is mostly based off the globe in Half-Life Alyx having North America scribbled out. I don't think this theory is true, at least completely. Eli and Dr. Kleiner would need a lot of time to get from Black Mesa, which is in New Mexico, to get to City 17, which is somewhere in Eastern Europe. My guess is that there are at least a few major towns in each continent, and that people are shipped between them. Some uprising happened in the major North American city, and it fell, but the people were too ill-equipped to fight off the alien life, so the whole country, over 20 years, was completely overrun beyond hope of saving. That, or maybe the Combine had to set an example of Earth after a second war almost happened, so they decided to wipe North America off the planet. 21. This is asking a very specific question. You know how in Undertale, when you save and load the game, it is a actual canon game mechanic you have. It is something that other characters can recognize as happening. Is it possible that Gordon Freeman, when he saves and loads these games, this is him utilizing a power that he has, and the G-Man is aware of this? And so the reason why he's the right man in the wrong place is because he's one of the only characters who has infinite tries after dying and dying again. This may sound like a dumb theory and a dumb question, but if true, it would make Half-Life the first ever game to do it. Anyway, that's all the questions I have answers to. I would love to hear your theories, anything to help pass the time till Half-Life X comes out. My bet is we'll get an update for Half-Life 2 that includes an ARG on November 16, 2024. Uploads will still be few and far between since I'm still doing work and college. I'll try and read and respond to all of your comments at least once a week. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.